Hello everyone, it's Dragana at Saacibo. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you a super fun and super easy way to use up your scraps, both fabric and paper. And it all started a few months ago when I got this scrapbook album that had black pages inside. I got it because it was cheap and the cardstock was good quality, 190 grams. A4 size, and there was 40 pages on the inside at only €3. And I came home and I thought, how am I going to use this black cardstock? I better think of a way to use it now, otherwise it's going to sit in my shelf forever. And then I had a look at my box of scraps that accumulated fairly quickly since the last scrap busting project, and I thought, oh, I know, I'll just make mosaic papers. I'm going to show you the examples of what I've done first, and then we'll do one together. Let's take a look. This is how I started. I had some strips of leftover papers from previous projects, so I started just gluing them and leaving some space in between because I really wanted to keep that black there, like tiles, you know, there's that space in between tiles, so something like that. And then I thought, I've used up the strips that I had at the time, and I thought, how about if I just go with squares? And then it all started unraveling afterwards. I loved working with squares. I had a square punch and that was really easy, really quick, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, so I've done a few, as you will see. Then there's this one and all the brick papers, and you can see what we were working on lately. I've used those papers, and over here I've used some of the painted receipts that I still had from last year or the year before, some napkin papers here, and so on. That was a lot of fun. But then, you know, as it happens when you work on an idea, you think of other things you can apply this, and that's when that happened. I've decided with all the small bits and pieces of my marbled papers, dyed papers, napkin papers that were too small to be used with a punch, I thought I'll just cut by hand random shapes that look like pebbles or small stones. And that was so much fun. It did take a little bit longer because I had to cut all by hand, but I absolutely loved the process and it was really intuitive, so it really made me feel good. So I thought, how about if I try with circular punches? I had 3 different sizes, the large, the medium and 1 inch, and then I had to cut a few with my scissors because I didn't have a punch small enough. And this is also a really beautiful result, but it took me a while. Took me probably the longest to work it all out and fit it all together, but nonetheless it was worth it. And then I thought, how about if I do rectangular shapes that are cut by hand with rounded edges? And then this happened. Also one of my favorites. These are some of the marbled papers, some dyed papers, that's the napkin paper, and so on. Really love that process. And then I had to try one with square punch but on an angle, and really loved it. So there's obviously a lot more different shapes that I could have tried and I didn't yet. I will eventually fill out the whole book, but I could have gone with, for example, with triangles, whether rounded or straight. I could have gone with squares that are rounded. I could have gone with hexagons and so on, and also like bricks. These are just some of the templates that I have for this, and it's so easy to do. You just need scissors and glue and perhaps a little bit of ink if you wanted to, and lots of scraps. You really get to use most of your scraps. Now let's take a look at the fabric ones. This is the first one I've done. I was thinking of doing a cover for this with fabric first, but then I've changed my mind. I think I might actually want to paint something on it. I still haven't decided. I mean, there's plenty of time to decide on that, but nonetheless I've created this one with fabric scraps and just stitched around with zigzag stitch, and I used pins to attach them to the fabric. That took a little bit of time, and with lots of pins everywhere, it is a little bit frustrating. After I completed that one, I remember that I had some heat and bond that my friend Aida sent me last summer. I had some smaller pieces left, so I thought, oh, I have to try this on white. It works on different color fabrics and paper, not just on black. And I think that's going to be a really nice journal cover once I complete it. Really love this one. And then I thought, what about if I have fabric scraps in just one fabric or just one color? How can I use them? And then I thought of this. I used fabric that had a bit of a pattern, and then that's just a denim from a shirt. First I ironed heat and bond on them, cut them out, then ironed onto that, and then I just hand stitched, just a simple running stitch. I suppose I can go in and do some embroidery as well. Also would be a really nice journal cover, I think. As you can see, I really love the pebble effect. I just love this one. Okay, so that's just an idea. You can take this many different ways. Like I said, it doesn't have to be on black. It can be on any color. It can be with any type of scraps. You can add lace and so on. Anyway, we are going to do one together, but we're going to do the paper version, and we're going to do the square ones because it is really easy. Okay, I have here different types of scraps. I've tried to organize them into like scrapbooking paper scraps, some printables. I've got here some marbled papers, some painty papers, some book pages, some music sheet. Over here I have some dyed papers, more scrapbook papers, some strips, and these are napkin papers. And I've got my folder with jelly prints, it says here, for collage. I'm going to use the punch, and I'm also going to use the template. And I really wanted to use some of the napkin papers. I love this one. This was leftover piece of paper after jelly printing, the one that you use to clean your jelly plate. But then I added threads and white napkin on top. So I really want to use some of that. I think it would go well with this. So now I have to pick something that will go well with that one. And I have this napkin paper. I think that would be a nice accent color. Got that. I also got that. That might also work, but then I don't want to overdo the pink. I really love adding book pages. I've got some of these envelopes that are kind of torn, so maybe I'll do one with these instead of book pages because I haven't done one with music sheet. So I'm going to go with that. I usually select maybe 6 or 7 different papers, and I like to place them in a way so that they don't repeat. I'd never put 2 of the same next to each other or right above. Okay, just jelly prints. Also that one would work too. Perhaps a bit of gold. That one has some nice patterns there, and I'll keep the gold. That one might work, or those 2 might work. Perhaps a few of these might be interesting. I mean, there's so many possibilities here. You can take this so many different ways. I don't have to decide on this immediately. You will see as I work. I sometimes change my mind when I see these papers one next to the other. Oh, let's just cut some. Yep. I'll just cut as many as I can. I really love this paper. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to cut with this. Let's just try. Oh, it cuts even the thread easily. I'll leave that in case I need to cut a little bit for the sides. Maybe I can cut a few at the same time. Perhaps that would be enough. Hopefully I'll be able to cut this without a problem. Yep. No. Sometimes it's hard to cut this thin paper with the... It just tends to tear it unless you put a piece of cardstock underneath. That's why I like to use this template. Would that look good? I'm not convinced now. Maybe I can take like a few from each. Take that. And do these. Okay. It's nice to have a few die papers too. Maybe this was painted with rust and white wool paint. Later on, once you glue everything, you can also go and stamp little images in the squares that are just, for example, plain colored and light. Cut one of each from these. And I'll see, if I see that it works well, I might cut more. Okay, we'll start with these. I like to ink around with just black ink. You can use any color you want. I find that the black really blends in well with the background. Okay, so what I do, I just go around and ink all of them. And that is totally optional. If you don't like inking or you don't want to spend extra time, just don't ink. Use them just as they are. This is really great for not only using your scraps, but using those papers that you might have done. And you know, like when you do jelly printing and painty papers, you might have sections of these papers that turned out good, and you might have some that are not so good. This way you can use up those not so good parts, because once you cut them into smaller pieces, it doesn't really matter all that much. You only see one section of it, you don't see the whole thing. And if you wonder what to do with these once you complete, you can keep them as they are and just look at them. Or you can take a photo or scan them. That's what I did. I scanned mine in and then I printed them, and I'll show you at the end. And if this one turns out good, I'll scan it too, and then I'll put them on my website as a freebie so you can see them up close. All right, so many different things you can do with this idea. I mean, it's nothing new. It's basically tiling papers or mosaic. It's one of the oldest techniques in the world, I think, especially when it's done with real stones or ceramic tiles. They're all nicely inked, and now we're gonna arrange them. It's so much fun. It's also very relaxing. It's one of those things that you can just do without too much thinking. I'll start with these. I seem to have most of these. You can use glue stick or any other glue, whatever is your favorite glue. And I start like this. I don't go all the way to the edge. I leave a couple of millimeters. Okay, You can also go over with Mod Podge once you complete the whole page, if you want a uniform look or you want to make sure they stay in place. I love watching them one next to the other, and I love that black space in between. And if you make a mistake, you can always try to rip it off and glue something else instead. So far I'm happy. Maybe that one would look good again. And if you wonder how many of these you need, it all depends on how big your squares are. Now I get to that stage where I don't want to repeat any of these, and I'm not convinced that these are a good choice. Well, let's try this faux botanical paper. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And also it would be nice if you have some embossed papers too. If you want to do one that's totally with textured papers, that would be great too. I haven't tried yet, but I think it looks good. Cut two of these as well. I need to ink those. Oh, I might just in the end ink as I go. Once I layer the first row, I go and arrange first and then I glue. Oh, let's go with that. And also, if you have been creating papers and then hoarding them like I did, like I make a nice paper, then I just hoard it. I don't want to cut into it. And this made me actually rethink that whole idea. I better use them, even if it's a small section of it. Why not? Why did I create it if I'm just gonna keep it in a folder somewhere hidden? And with some papers like this one, because it's so bright and out there, I might be reluctant to use it as a full page in a journal, but when I add it here, it's like an accent. It just makes everything a little bit more exciting to look at, you know. The second row is done. Well, let's do the third one. Now here. Okay, and that looks good there. I'm gonna put that one there. Happy with that, so I'll just Good. So yeah, a little bit of planning is good, but you can also just punch a whole heap of these and just take one by one and place wherever without too much thinking. I'm thinking perhaps this would look good on some gold paper too, to have like the gold in between showing. At the moment I'm just really attracted to this contrast with black. Another nice look would be with teared papers. So if you were to tear them to have the soft edge instead of cutting them, I think that would also look very nice. So many different ways you can do this. Once I scan this one and print it out on my printer, I'm sure the gold is gonna be more like yellow rather than gold, but that's all right. As soon as the weather is nice, like today, most of my neighbors decide to get out and work in the backyard and around the house. It's just so noisy. I tried to film this video several times and then I had to give up because of the noise. Plus it's the long weekend here. Tomorrow is Independence Day, and then they moved the holiday to Monday so people can have a day off. Okay, one more. That one can go there. Maybe like so, and that one there. I ended up not using this at all. This month, February, it just went by so quickly and I honestly don't know where the time went. It just happened so quickly. Really love the music sheet edition. Okay, so now because of the size of my punch and the size of the paper, I have all that around left, and I just use what's left of these and cut them in half and just add there and on top. So now I'm just gonna go with a few of them. Just that. There, here. Okay. And a little square. Good. Let's ink. those bits and then glue them. So what do you think? Is it something you'd like to do with your scraps and your special papers? For me, this is one of those rabbit hole situations. I guess in a way this is similar to collages, but they're a little bit more, I don't know what's the word, organized, I guess, or repetitive, especially if all the shapes are the same, like in this case. And one thing I wanted to try, and I haven't yet, but I plan to, is to do like shapes, for example, like flowers, just like you would do applique on fabric. You can do that on this black background with some colorful papers that you might have. Because when you look at the colors, especially the lighter ones, they all stand out better when they're next to the black. They're even brighter then. And lucky last. I'm actually very happy with this one. It's very nice and cheerful. I quickly went ahead and I scanned it in and I printed it out so that you can see the difference. Not a big difference, looks almost the same, but it doesn't have the texture. It's smooth, obviously. And I have scanned 2 more of these, and I will put them on my website as a free digital download. The same deal as always. To get the freebie, please visit my website. Link is up on the screen and also below the video. Once you're there, close all the ads that pop up, look for the image you wish to download, click on it, and it should open up in a new window. You can now choose to save the image to your computer. You do not need to register, pay, install. Do not provide your credit card information. If that happens, that means you clicked on one of the ads by mistake. So simply go back and try again. If you wish to share my freebies, I would appreciate if you share the link to my website. Please do not sell or redistribute in a digital form as a freebie anywhere else. It's okay to use printed version of all my freebies in the journals that you make and sell. Now, what you can do with these is personalize them a little bit. I'll just show you what I mean. I could have gone and stamped these with images beforehand, but I thought it might be more fun if you do it yourself with your own stamps. Like so. And stamp a few somewhere on these plainer colors. Perhaps one there would look good too. Love that. Could add one here, there, even on the red, you know. What about on this one? This one has more of the empty spaces. Would be nice to actually add leaves. And it's a nice small leaf. Let's try that. Go. And maybe on this one we can add butterfly. Just thinking where. Maybe those 3. Let's try. Nice. Maybe even one here. There it is. So that's one way you can customize these. Just, have fun with them. I've tried here adding some detail with acrylic markers. That's also fun. And certainly if you make your own, if you can, take a photo or scan them and then you can reuse them in your journals to make envelopes, to make all sorts of things. I think they would make lovely pages and covers. You can also try printing them on fabric. There's my new obsession. Working with scraps on black background. Although I love the white background on that one too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was fun for you, and I hope I see you soon in the next video. Bye for now.